Hello, fight fans. Welcome to episode 4 of the Fight Game. I'm your host ST, and today we will be talking about my thoughts on the upcoming Canelo versus Crawford matchup, which is rumored to be happening later on this year on the Mexican September holiday, the September Mexican holiday. So not Cinco de Mayo, but later on the Mexican holiday in September. So my thoughts on Canelo versus Crawford. First of all, the only reason why, in my opinion, this fight is even being mentioned about, even discussed about, so close to being signed, if not already signed for this September, is primarily because Terence Bud Crawford is not a natural middleweight or a super middleweight. Because if he was, then mark my words, as God as my witness, the same treatment that occurred with David Benavidez, and I would argue with David Morrell as well, who are fighting later on this weekend, more on that later. But the same treatment that David Benavidez and David Morrell faced, in terms of Canelo ducking both of those fighters, that would happen to Terence Crawford as well if he was a natural middleweight and super middleweight. In the same way that Canelo Alvarez, in my opinion, will never ever fight David Benavidez, Terence Bud Crawford would end up facing that very same fate if he was a natural middleweight or super middleweight. But because he's because he's coming up from lightweight, and right now he's truth be told, he's actually a natural welterweight, even though his last fight was at junior middleweight. That's the only reason why Canelo is entertaining this fight right now. And it's pretty sad because amongst boxing fans like myself, Canelo will be known, despite his legacy, despite his incredible resume. And to all the Canelo fanboys out there, Canelo Alvarez has one hell of a resume. But if you develop a reputation for consistently fighting the best, you can't just stop at David Benavidez and David Morrell. And so, because of the superior weight advantage that Canelo Alvarez has, that's why Canelo is even willing to entertain this fight in the first place. And so I'm not surprised that it is close, if not already signed for September of this year. In terms of the outlook of the fight itself between Canelo and Crawford, Crawford, without a shadow of a doubt, is the superior boxer, which is why, like I said it before, I'll say it again. If he was a natural middleweight, super middleweight, Canelo would never fight him. Terence Crawford is a naturally superior boxer, as equally balanced in the southpaw stance as well as the orthodox stance. Punches from angles, great with his feet, perfect combination of speed and timing. Just a full-on junkyard dog In the words of Teddy Atlas, a junkyard dog. That's who Terence Bud Crawford is. Canelo Alvarez, primarily a front foot fighter, best puncher, left hook, great traps, great setups, a natural counter puncher, accuracy combined with speed and power. That's what we're up against in this potential mega fight. But Terence Crawford is the better boxer. If both fighters were naturally fighting at the same weight, Bud Crawford would win hands down over a 12-round decision, easy. However, because he's a smaller fighter coming up, Bud Crawford can still win in a 12-round decision. I mean, that's his only option of winning, because he's not going to knock down Canelo Alvarez, let alone knocking him out. However, because Crawford is yet to taste the power of a super middleweight puncher and a big puncher in Canelo, there is a high possibility Bud Crawford gets stopped in a vicious manner himself, because this is boxing. As great as Bud is, this is boxing. Canelo Alvarez, I also see him wearing down Bud Crawford as well in the later rounds due to his weight advantage. So I don't agree with Tim Bradley that it's a foregone conclusion that Terence Crawford just automatically wins. Like, no, the only way that Bud Crawford is going to win is through a 12-round decision. And that path becomes even more difficult because he's a smaller man coming up. However, Canelo Alvarez has a multitude of avenues to victory because he's the bigger man. He can stop him via KO or TKO. Or Canelo can also win a 12-round decision himself by just being the bigger, stronger man and wearing down the better boxer, especially in the later rounds, pinning him against the ropes, landing vicious shots to the head and body with his constant front foot pressure. Especially if Crawford, when he hits Canelo, and I do believe Crawford would hit Canelo very clean in this fight, but Canelo does not respect Crawford's power whatsoever. That's essentially what the fight comes down to, in my opinion, folks, is that if Crawford nails Canelo on the chin several times, but Canelo simply does not respect it and keeps marching forward like it's nothing, the same way Golovkin done against Kell Brook, well then, folks, Terence Crawford would be in a world of trouble. So that's my thoughts on the potential Canelo Crawford matchup in September of this year. Let me know what you guys think, and if you like to hear my comments on boxing, then please don't forget to like and subscribe to this podcast. It will go a long way to helping the show out. Thank you very much, fight fans, and I'll see you on the next episode.